Okay, so there's another angle to this whole debacle that's been happening, and it is basically long-standing. Um, the military has had a major involvement in this, in all of this like smearing of my reputation as well as other people, and then all of these attempts at these like sexual bribes. It's kind of a mix of like sexual bribes to get people on their side or to glean favors, and then also. They have like a sexual sort of like trafficking and bidding system up on these neural nets or on these networks that use women as like a certain sexual commodity. So it's kind of like a prostitution of a woman without her even knowing about it. And they'll tap into people in the public in the U.S. They'll activate their nanotechnology inside their bodies, and they'll do this. Or they'll also they'll do it to other like types that are affluent. Like they could do it to sports stars. They've done it to like a lot of actresses, models, and musician types. Um, Typically, they're after like girls they think of as like physically attractive, of course, and so they'll pull them up. They'll misuse military technologies and military authorities, and then they'll exact these plans. They do have some bureaucrats involved, and they're like I've heard word of like senators being involved, and we're in the midst of like a bunch of people researching this, all kinds of different people. So part of the reason is because them trying to steal genes from me means they could try to steal genes from anyone with some of these CRISPR technologies that have been talked about recently, where they're basically slicing the genes and taking like cutting pieces out, but they can also take the pieces out that are beneficial and try to transfer them via nanotech and take these gene copies and then try to put them in themselves illegally. So that's like the main issue that's taking place right now, simultaneous to this whole Daisy Isabel Jazz Ridley story that's happening with me at the same time, where it just seems ridiculous because the girl happens to be in Star Wars, and then I'm claiming all these other things, and then simultaneously we're having this giant investigation going, and then they're trying to steal my genes, and then in addition to that, they're trying to push this woman away from me from being like a witness. They're trying to get her to side against me, or they have tried to do this. They tried to convince a bunch of people in Hollywood to hate me, and they basically ran this giant smear campaign to try to destroy my reputation, my identity, because they don't want to be revealed for all these like rape and like pedophile activities within the military industrial complex. So there's quite a few of them that do some sick things, and they use their special access to get away with this. And this is something we're like talking about right now and having a big discussion about. Even though it would appear like nothing is really going on, they're going to try and make me look crazy to some extent because I'm talking about it and I'm a civilian, and yet I haven't come into my wealth yet, but that's only because these people have tried to keep me down, and it's like a military interest in order to do so, because they're trying to take from me and to make themselves basically more, they're trying to bolster their own genetics through what I have by stealing from me. So the problem with this being, I have proof that my sexual organs, my testes were harmed, and that they're trying to hold on to the blood flow to my dick. So there's only certain people that can do this, and they can't just shirk the responsibility of, or push off the responsibility of this onto like some random individual. They can't just tell, okay, this was hackers that did this and they hacked into your system, they're just the ones doing this. No, this is deliberate, and it takes credibility in order to make these things happen, which means it takes position, it takes rank, it takes notoriety within society in order to get these things to happen. So that is like a basic truth that you can go by as we're like going and like solving these things publicly. As simultaneously, they're running all these different campaigns against all these other people to get everyone to hate each other, so that they don't cooperate and they attack these problems to solve them. They've ran campaigns against Elon Musk and I, even though I'm not even though I'm not really saying like even though I'm not saying he's off the hook necessarily, all I'm saying is that they've ran campaigns against Elon Musk and I. They've tried to steal his some of his patents, and I did experience that some months ago when I was locked in the network with them on a certain level. They've tried to steal my patents, which are my gene monopolies coming up here in the future, which they've announced to me, and then they'll taunt you with them at the same time and state that they've stolen them, and there's nothing you can do about it. They just try to assume victory, and that's not how a scientific debate goes. So these guys really don't stand a chance in this regard. They've also tried to run campaigns against like myself and all of Daisy Ridley's friends, and then also myself, like between myself, Daisy Ridley, Grimes, and Elon Musk. So it's really weird. There's a lot of different interrelated things here that have these, that it kind of takes some time to explain and absolve one of. But yeah, I thought I would just mention these things because it is really important that everyone knows this. So you know, like, where I stand. It just seems ridiculous because I'm like just walking around public and I've like worked a normal job, like some mundane job. So yeah.